What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Common Sense Custodian, aka the Wall Street Custodian, where we try to look at things from a common sense point of view. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about a topic that I'm actually surprised that I need to talk about, but it's definitely something that I need to talk about. I just had a lengthy debate in Twitter over this topic, and I've even talked to people in my day-to-day life that I can't believe don't know or don't want to acknowledge the difference between these two things. And the two things we're going to talk about, I'll let you know in a second, but before we get started, hit that subscribe button. Trying to make a difference in the world today, right? Trying to be fair, trying to just look at things, like I said, from a common sense point of view. If you like that, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video. Really trying to branch this channel out, not to just be stocks, not to just be the same old, but actually look at things objectively and look at them, like I said, with common sense. Okay, so what we're talking about today is the difference between a boycott and canceling. And so I'll tell you a brief story. So I was speaking with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, and this is before the Target thing happened. He had mentioned to me, so if you're not going to buy Bud Light anymore, aren't you canceling? But because he knows I don't like cancel culture. I think it's horrible. And isn't it canceling? Aren't you canceling Bud Light? And I said, see, absolutely not. And there's one key difference. And I'm going to say that, and then I'm going to read from an article, okay? When you cancel somebody, something, all right, you are erasing them from existence, okay? So let's go back to old Twitter. Let's go back a year ago, 2 years ago. There were let's talk about the Babylon Bee, actually. Okay, so what happened when Twitter removed the Babylon Bee, which was just a comedy page, off of Twitter? Okay, well, now the Babylon Bee, that Twitter was the only way they got out to people, or the main way they got out to people, got their message out, built their brand, right? If you eliminate them, okay, that's not a boycott, okay? The people at the top are eliminating the Babylon Bee's ability to get their message out. Now, a boycott is different. The top lets the Babylon Bee, or in this case Twitter, right? Twitter managers, whatever, what do you want to call it, the CEO of Twitter, allows Babylon Bee to put their content out and allows people the right to decide if they want to watch it. And if a group of people decide, hey, I'm boycotting them, I'm not watching or listening or reading the Babylon Bee anymore, that's their decision. But they're not canceled. They're still allowed to do business. They're still allowed to be seen. It's just a group of people are boycotting them. There's a huge, huge difference between the two. Canceling is the act of the top, or elites, I'll put it in this case, is how I look at it. The elites in the country or the world, whatever you want to call it, are eliminating your chance to even be seen, heard, or known of. There's a huge difference than letting the people decide whether they want to view said content. Okay, now let's check out what Soapboxy had to say about this. I have no idea if this is a right or left site. I have a feeling it's left-leaning just by the way it looks, but let's see. Cancel culture versus boycotts. What's the difference? Defining boycotts and cancel culture. So this article was back a few months ago, so keep that in mind. If you pay attention to the news, you may have heard about attempts to cancel Spotify podcaster Joe Rogan by the left. We all remember that, right? These certain music guys were coming out and saying that they don't want their stuff on Spotify unless Spotify removes him from the platform. What would have then happened? It would have removed Joe Rogan's ability to even be seen, right? And then that takes your choice away whether you want to see it or not. Okay. So, or calls to boycott Bud Light and Disney, and the latter was for its opposition to Florida's parental rights bill. Cancel culture and boycotts seem similar because there is some overlap, and I'll acknowledge there is some overlap, but there are some differences, and these are the definitions of boycott and cancel culture according to Wikipedia, which I will add is very left, okay? Wikipedia I do not take as like the gospel or like guaranteed to be correct. I used to in the past until I've realized how much fake stuff they put out, but for this case right here, we'll use Wikipedia. A boycott is an act of nonviolent, voluntary abstination from a product, person, organization, or country as an expression of protest. The purpose of the boycott is to inflict some economic loss on the target, to indicate a moral outrage, to try to compel the target to alter objectionable behavior. I think that's very fair. Now, cancel culture or call-out culture, well, I like to call it cancel culture, is a contemporary phrase used to refer to a form of ostracism in which someone is thrust out of social media or out of professional circles, whether it be online, social media, or in person, and I will add, disappeared from public view. The article also goes on to say here, and I agree with this, after seeing so many people being canceled, bystanders are plagued with fear. They become overwhelmed with anxiety that people will turn on them if they fully express themselves. And that's what happens with canceling. It's a very big difference than boycott. It also goes on to say cancel culture is the digital equivalent of a medieval mob roaming the streets looking for someone to burn. You see, that's a very big difference than just a group of people deciding we're not going to shop somewhere. Okay, a boycott, you still have the choice, right? With canceling, it's erased. You're erased from existence. And there's a big problem with the two, and I think just everybody has to acknowledge the difference. So let's talk about what's happening now, right? Target, right? It says, and now this is from the Insider, again, not most of these news sources I don't really trust, but whatever. Conservative boycotts against Target and Bud Light are working thanks to a perfect storm of social media and culture wars, experts say. And I will agree with that. It is kind of a perfect storm that's happening to Target right now. Target is the latest company swept up in a growing wave of boycotts led by right-wing, and I will add independent. Okay, they label everything right-wing. There's a lot of independents. I know a lot of independent people who are not happy with Target or Bud Light. Okay, they're not right-wing. I'm not right-wing. I'm independent. I'm an independent free thinker. Okay, I'm not a fan of what they did. Okay, the boycotts are aimed at companies that have allied themselves with trans people. Experts say the boycotts work thanks to culture wars and panic-stoking online and in the media. I'm going to say they work because when you start to target people's kids, things change. Even with, and that's with people on all sides. I actually know a few Democrats that are actually outright outraged by some of the stuff that's going on. I spoke to a good friend of mine who was just loves Hollywood, like gets all the papers for Hollywood. And after, I forget what awards it was, I think Golden Globes, forgive me if I'm wrong, where Sam Smith came out with all the devil worship stuff and the blood and all that. And they weren't happy. They were like, yo, I don't like this. I am not a fan of this. I am not a fan of where this is going. So it's, you know, a lot of these places like to label things right-wing, but let me just say, there's plenty of independents or even left, I'll say liberal free thinkers. Remember, liberal means free, right? So Democrat or liberal free thinkers that are not fans of a lot of the stuff that's going on either. From the Bloomberg, Target sheds $13 billion in value on retail uncertainty, so people are just dumping the stock. LGBTQ backlash. Shares fell for 9 days. There'll probably be a bounce back of the stock, just knowing how stocks work. Eventually, you're going to see a rebound, I think, as this maybe fades away, but who knows? You never know. Some of these things may last. I'm surprised how long the Bud Light thing is lasting, I'll tell you that. And speaking of Bud Light, this is just from June 5th. Bud Light salespeople receiving middle fingers and car horns as boycott passes. Boycott, not canceling. Boycott passes 7th week. Now, why is it not canceling? Because Bud Light is still allowed to do business. Now, let's just say, for argument's sake, imagining here there was some radical right-wing leader in charge and says, you know what, boycott. Bud Light is not allowed to do business anymore for what they did. Let's just say, just arbitrarily, and shuts them down. That's canceling. But they're allowed to do business, and people just not buying from them. That's a boycott. There's the difference right there. If you want to look at that as the most simplest form, if somebody shut Bud Light down completely because of their views or what they think, that's canceling. But people not buying and grouping together and just not purchasing the product, that's a boycott. They're still allowed to do what they want. They still exist. They can still advertise. They can fix things. They can change things because it's just a boycott. Canceling makes it so you can't even change anything. You can't fix anything. You can't alter your business, or whatever business strategy, or your person, or whatever it is. You're removed off social media, whatever the case is, because you're canceled. You're gone. You're erased. You're disappeared. Okay? Know the difference between the two. One is totalitarian. One is the essence of communism and will lead us down a path of ruin. And one is the essence of freedom and your personal choice to make a choice of where you spend your money, how you act, who you engage with. Know the difference. Have common sense. Catch you in the next one.